Welcome to the Kansas STP Priorities Committee. Thanks for everybody coming in person and online. Let's go ahead and start with introductions. We'll just go down around this way.
Mark Hansen with Mid-America Regional Council.
Megan Brolin with Mid-America Regional Council.
Celia Cuppy with Merriam.
Dan Miller, Lamprey Anderson.
Randy Gordon, VHC, and on behalf of the City of Edwardsville.
Mark Matthews from the City of Edwardsville.
Holly Robinson, the City of Edgerton. Now from the City of Mesa.
Mike Spickelmeyer, City of Williamson.
Jason Newald, City of Shawnee.
Kevin Manning, City of Shawnee.
Mark Lee, City of Bonner Springs.
Neil Meredith, City of Olathe.
Kyle Dickman, Cologne Park.
All right, so first item on our agenda is approve the August 8th, 2024 meeting summary. Oh, I forgot online. Let's go ahead and introduce online.
Taylor Cunningham, Transportation Planner with Mark.
Allison Smith, KDOT Planning.
Tim Green, City of Lenexa.
Allison Abel, City of Spring Hill.
Tim McEldowney, City of Gardner.
Martin Riverola with Mark.
AJ Ferris, Kansas City Area Transportation Authority.
Joe McAfee with Leavenworth County.
Gunnar Hand with the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. Morning.
Patrick Truba, Mark Staff.
Art Goff.
Ryan Scoville, City of Leawood.
Looks like we got most everybody. We have Bill Stogsdill.
Bill Stogsdill, City of Fairway.
Donnie Scharf.
Yeah, sorry, Donnie Scharf, City of Roland Park.
Stephanie Boyce.
I'm here.
Looks like the last on my list is Steve Schooley.
Steve Schooley, City of Lenexa.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Before we get going, I would just remind everyone, please do enter your name and organization if you are online into the chat box. That helps us with attendance and greatly assists Megan in making sure you are all accounted for. So please do enter your name and organization in the chat for us if you are attending online.
Okay, so now back to the first item in the agenda. Approve the August 8th, 2024 meeting summary. Does anyone have any changes? And if not, I'd welcome a motion.
I move to approve the August 8th meeting summary.
Okay. All right, motion approved. Next item is the 2027-2028 call for projects.
Yes, we are in our 2024 programming round here, which in this room will handle surface transportation block grant programming for federal fiscal years 2027 and 2028. We are moving into kind of a new phase of our programming processes. We are getting into kind of the heavy lifting portion of this for you all, as staff is still, we are almost at the end of getting through the revisions to the initial scoring that we sent out. Many of you took advantage of the opportunity to ask questions about those scores, have us do some reconsiderations of things. We are still working through those. We've had a number of staff responsible for scoring out of the office for a variety of reasons at various points in here. And so it's taking a little longer than what I would like it to take, but we should have those all out to you this week, hopefully yet. And so you will, kind of the staff portion of this will have kind of concluded for the most part as far as the heavy lifting portion of staff's work, and we'll turn it over to you all to do the committee discussions that go along with all of this programming. The first step in that process is we generally like to do project presentations. These are very informal, 5 minutes at most. Megan has graciously found a Zoom timer for you. So that will show up on the screen here. I'm not exactly sure how it shows up on the online portion of this, but you should have a small box that gives you a timer, and you should also hear a sound when you get to 5 minutes. Generally, I'm not one to pull you off stage, so to speak, right at 5 minutes. If I can kind of get the sense you're close to wrapping up, generally we allow you to kind of go forward. But please do be mindful of that 5 minute time, as that will help keep things moving. There are, I think, 14 different jurisdictions with projects in here. So this all at 5 minutes. So the more we can keep it moving, the better off we all are. But do take the opportunity to ask questions about these projects. The questions really, if we spill over 5 minutes, this is what that's for, right? So we will allow the questions to go on until we're done with those on a particular project. Outside of that, we did note in the agenda that we are going in reverse alphabetical order this year. So those of you at the beginning usually get to go first. Well, we flipped it around a little bit this year, mix things up. We're going to mix it up even more for you due to some scheduling conflicts. The staff here at Mid-America Regional Council asked to go first with their particular project presentation. And so we will kick off things with the Mid-America Regional Council, unless there are questions in the room or online about how things will work today. All right, seeing none, we will jump into Mid-America Regional Council, and I'm not sure, Taylor or Patrick, which one of you is going to handle these, or both?
Both. I can start, and thank you all for letting me go first. I'm the reason that we're being divas, so I have another meeting to get to. But the first project you all are already familiar with, the 2027 Planning Sustainable Places Grant. This is just funding for our regular PSP program and the planning projects we select. As far as the need, PSP is a strategy in our long-range plan, Connect to KC 2050. And really the goal of this program is to allow local jurisdictions to do detailed planning projects and development planning for future activities. So our total funding request from you all is, I think this should be 700. No, it's 800. Sorry, the other one's 900. 800,000. We are providing a match amount of $425,000. We did not apply for any other funding sources, and this is our first priority project out of our 2 submittals. Next slide, please. As far as the location, any jurisdiction within the MARC boundaries is eligible to apply for funding. This can be anything from tiny rural towns to KCMO, KCK urban core. Everything in between has received funding. For upcoming, we have projects in KCMO, we have Kearney and Liberty, so we've got things all over. And if you all do approve less funding than the requested 800,000, then we would simply fund fewer projects than in previous calls. So the scalability is very workable for us. And that's it for me. Any questions?
Questions about PSP?
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take over. Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Truba. I'm the Active Transportation Planner here at MARC. Our second application is for a regional bicycle pedestrian counting program. Ever since the regional bikeway plan was approved in early 2015, MARC has wanted to start a regional counting program to collect bicycle and pedestrian movement data, which is typically really rare for a metropolitan region. The funds would go towards a variety of automatic counting devices placed across the 9-county region. The data would help us understand real-world bike ped movements, and it could be used in future planning work. The specific devices we would use and where they would go would be informed by our anticipated update to the regional bikeway plan to be done next year. So the request to Kansas STPG is $240,000. This is Kansas's half of a requested $480,000 from the whole STPG program. The match is $660,000, and again, this is Kansas's half of a total match of $120,000. This match would come from MARC member agency contributions. Next slide, please. We have not applied to any other funding programs, and this is the second priority in Mark's priority after PSP. It is also highly scalable. More funding means more counting devices, and less funding means less devices. And I can take questions.
Thanks, Patrick. Questions for Patrick on regional counting? Megan?
Questions online.
So how many devices does that purchase? Do they have areas planned already where they're looking at putting them, or?
That's a good question. I ran the numbers on this a while back, and I can't remember what exactly I pulled up. But it would vary quite a bit between manufacturers or models. I think the devices we've looked at the past, and I think we need more than like different kinds of devices in the future. But the devices we've looked at in the past have been like around 5,000 to 6,000 each. We used to have more of a plan for where to put them, but the plan was kind of vague. This was part of the regional counting program, and we could never get the funding, so we never got into like the exact details of that. And we're looking to the update to the regional counting program or to the regional bikeway plan to kind of flesh out more of those details of where they would be placed. We would be looking for as much of a variety of contexts in the region as we can get.
Thanks, Patrick. All right, I should also mention as we move into our next presenter, just let me know if you're online or in the room, just let me know when you're ready for the slide to change and we'll move it forward for you. So next up will be Spring Hill.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present our project today. My name is Allison Abel. I am the city engineer for Spring Hill, Kansas. Spring Hill is requesting STPG funding for our 207th Street project from Woodland to Ridgeview. This project includes the reconstruction of 1 mile of roadway. This has an existing 2-lane unimproved roadway. We would be reconstructing it to a complete street design with new curb and gutter, storm sewer, 5-foot sidewalk on one side, 10-foot trails on the other, along with some street lighting. This project will address several public safety improvements and needs that we have along this corridor. It will improve the vertical sight distance by cutting down a couple of the hills that are along this corridor. It will be removing the roadway ditches and improving the storm drainage system and some of the storm drainage issues that we have along this corridor. We will provide pedestrian access where there isn't any today with the installation of sidewalks and trails. And we will provide a crosswalk along 207th Street so that the pedestrians can access Legacy Park. Next slide, please. This project is part of a larger picture for our community. So starting at 199th and Ridgeview, we have our Spring Hill High School complex that is there. The complex includes not just the high school, but district administrative offices, educational support center, district activity center, as well as a sports complex. We have a CARS funded project that we're working on right now along 199th Street from Ridgeview to Renner, converting the 2-lane unimproved roadway to a complete street design with 5-foot sidewalks and 10-foot trails. This project is currently under design and is planned to start construction in 2025. The other project that connects up at 199th Street, the city of Spring Hill has a TAP application and for TAP funding consideration for the East Streamway Trail. This is a 10-foot sidewalk that would be constructed along an existing stream corridor from 199th and Norton approximately down to 207th Street, about where this proposed project will start. This would provide the connection from the school district complex up on 199th Street, all the way down through some of the existing and planned residential developments and connect to some of the other activity centers that are in and around this area. And then onto the current project for STPG funding. This would connect at the end of the East Streamway Trail project that is under TAP consideration at 207th Street and will be ultimately connect into the Metro Green corridor that is located along the tributary to Wolf Creek. This project is listed in Spring Hills Parks Master Plan to address some of our community's priorities, most notably providing pedestrian access. There are very few trails and sidewalks within our community, and our elected officials would like to remedy that starting with this project. And this is also shown on our vision plan for neighborhood development in our comprehensive plan. Next slide, please. The total estimated project cost for this project, the 207th Street improvements from Woodland to Ridgeview, is over $15 million. The total construction cost is over $13.2 million. The city is prepared to provide the 20% local match. The scope of the project is unfortunately not able to scale it down. It includes the removal and replacement of the roadway from an intersection to an intersection. And if we were to reduce any portion of this, it would be removing some of the key components of the street, the complete street design. And we have not applied for any additional funding. And that's it for my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Spring Hill? All right, no questions. Thanks, Allison. All right, Shawnee.
All right, hi, my name is Kevin Manning. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Shawnee. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today to talk about our projects. First one that we have for you today is our Woodland Drive improvements. And as you can kind of see here on the map, Woodland Drive is an existing roadway. It's kind of the north-south blue dotted line that you see on the map. It's essentially a narrow 2-lane roadway. It acts as an arterial right now, but it's not a very safe roadway. We've had a lot of complaints from our residents on it, and our city council has really had a lot of interest in improving this roadway. So with this project, we'd be looking to basically expand this roadway to more of our modern roadway standards, be adding curb and gutter, 10-foot trail on one side, sidewalk on the other side, and bike lanes as well, just widening out the roadway surface, make it a lot safer for both vehicles and pedestrians. We're also looking at making a sidewalk connection north of 71st Street with the Shawnee Mission Parkway. And so that would basically connect all the way up to the Mill Valley, or excuse me, the Mill Creek Trail system, which would be a big benefit for our community as well. We are asking for $8 million in SCBG funding. The city has created basically a conservation TIF in this area as well. What that means is essentially the county and the school districts are foregoing a portion of their property tax to help fund basically infrastructure improvements in that area. And so the city is going to be able to offer a $6.4 million match on this, which we feel like is a significant amount that we're putting forward. We do anticipate with that conservation tip over the next 10 years, this area is going to see a huge amount of development, and this roadway is going to continue to see more and more traffic. So we're really putting forth our best effort now to try to get out in front of that and improve this roadway before all that development occurs and we really have more of a serious problem out here. This is our first priority. We do have 2 projects. This is our first priority. We could scale this project down basically into different phases if the committee decided to not fund this at our full amount, or we could look at some different funding options internally and see if there's some other creative ways we could move some money around to try to fund this project entirely. Any questions on this project? Okay, move on to the next slide. This is our second project, our second priority, and this would basically be to signalize the ramp terminals at the 435 and Johnson Drive interchange. Currently, signals are basically already warranted at this location, and we are in the midst of having discussions about development in this area as well with several different developers. Now, when that development occurs, there will be a lot of strain at these intersections. If you're familiar with this interchange in particular, if you're coming off the southbound 435 ramps looking to the west, that's towards like Mid-America Sports Complex. Site distance isn't outstanding, and it can kind of be tough to turn off of there, going east or west. If you're looking to the east, you kind of have the bridge that kind of crests over the top too. So it's a challenging intersection out there. Luckily, we haven't had a huge accident problem yet. And I think it's one of those intersections that people are aware that, hey, when you go, you got to go, you got to pull out and be ready to get to the intersection. but that's not really going to be sustainable long term. So we're asking for $800,000 in STPG funding, and the city is prepared to put up a $275,000 match to basically get those ramp terminals signalized. This project really isn't scalable for us. We do just kind of want to knock it out in one go. Any questions on this one? Thank you.
Thank you to Shawnee. The next step, I believe, will be Roland Park.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Donnie. I'm with the City of Roland Park. I'm the Public Works Director. I'll be speaking to you today about our project we submitted for the Knoll Park or Knoll Avenue Complete Streets. The map in front of you, the red box on the left will indicate that's the project limits. And we added some areas on the right side. It kind of shows access to some of our activity centers. Next slide, please. So the project is for Knoll Avenue from 51st to the north end, which ends in actually one of our largest parks in Roland Park. Improvements will include full depth pavement, curb and gutter, installation of a new 8-foot wide multi-purpose trail, ADA enhancements, and then signing for Share the Road. What we're trying to accomplish is to maximize mobility and access to this park and the residential areas, address street preservation and maintenance needs, obviously provide alternative modes, which is for the bike lane or the biking facilities. This will close the gap. There is a missing segment of sidewalk at 49th Street. It's kind of on 3 or 4 blocks up from 51st Street. We're trying to close that gap by installing that 8-foot wide multi-purpose trail from that point to the north up to the park. Our funding request is about $2.2 million from STVG, and with our local match being $950,000. Next slide. Project limits, like I said, 51st to the north end of Knoll Park. This will be a complete removal and reconstruction of the existing street with grading necessary to install that 8-foot wide multi-purpose trail. So our opinion is it cannot be phased. We don't anticipate any changes to the scope. Next slide. I did want to touch on some of the underlying strategies for Connect KC 20. I think that's supposed to be 2050, I believe. So my apologies for that. Working on enhancements of the complete streets elements. There's activity centers to the east of Knoll. This connection would actually provide biking routes to those activity centers. Installation of Share the Road, the biking facilities, to access these. And then adding that multi-purpose trail to the north end will help provide that connectivity. I did want to touch on or note that we actually applied for STP funding for the south section of Knoll between 51st and 58th, which we greatly appreciate. And that project's slated to kick off in 2025. Completing this section of Knoll from 51st to the park will complete that connection. Next slide. Replacement of deteriorated asphalt, curbs, gutters. It's like I said, just including those trails and share roads, sign the road. Next slide, please. Trying to enhance the walkability and expand our city's trail system. Knoll Avenue is a bike connection between the Mission Activity Center, which is to the south of Roland Park, towards Johnson Drive. And then to the east, we have our Roland Park Community Center. There's our sports dome and our aquatic center. There's a section of the north end. There's a circle drive, what could be changed or modified to enhance more green space, to limit or reduce the greenhouse gases and heat island effect. Next slide, please. This map shows what we're proposing. So that far up, upper left-hand side of the map, we're proposing adding that 8-foot trail from that 49th Street up to the park. So we're doing south of 51st to 58th in 2025. That will actually have signage and sharrows. 51st Street would connect over to the east. There's an 8-foot multi-purpose trail along Road Boulevard. It's completed back in 2020. There's other bike routes that will lead up to the north and over into the cities of Westwood to the east of Roland Park. Next slide. And I'll be brief. We do a lot of public engagement, public meetings, discussions, including projects in our CIP, having open houses and getting feedback from residents. Next slide. I think that's it. I'll take any questions.
Questions for Roland Park? All right. Thanks, Donnie.
Thank you.
Next up will be the city of Overland Park.
Thank you. Mark, do you guys have a preference on podium or if we sit at the table?
You can,
Okay,
right where you are.
Sounds good to me. Okay, thank you. Kyle Bigman, I'm with the City of Overland Park, and I'm pleased to present our STPG submission. I'll mainly be discussing our 175th Street Improvement Project. The 175th Street project consists of roadway improvements between 179th and Antioch Road. The project includes construction of a roundabout, sidewalk, mixed-use trail, divided. We will be building a divided 2-lane section, as well as reconstructing a 3-lane section where it exists today. And we will include construction of on-street bike lanes. Next slide. The project will provide multimodal options, improve safety and system performance, and address preservation needs and serve a rapidly growing area of the city. We're asking for $7 million in federal funds to supplement the city's match of $14.5 million for a total project of $21.6 million. This project is our first priority for the STPG funds. Next slide, please. Like I said, this is in one of our most rapidly growing areas of the city. It's in the southwest portion of Overland Park. The project limits are depicted by the bold black line there along 175th Street. This area has and continues to rapidly develop. As you can see from the map, the areas in blue are school properties that the project will serve, including a middle school, an elementary school, and Blue Valley Southwest High School, which is the bigger blue area there right at 175th and Quivira. And it'll also serve a fire station. So in the big blue square, there's a little square that's not blue, and that's one of our fire stations. So we have projects completed in design and construction in this area. We've recently built Weir Road. We have our next STP construction project is Schweitzer Road there. And then we have been heavily investing in this area. Next slide, please. 175th Street today is an unimproved county road. It's very hilly, does not have shoulders. The roadway is failing under the traffic that's in the area now. And we know that as traffic continues to increase, the road will continue to deteriorate. As you can see, there's no sidewalks or trails, and students walking to the schools in the area have no place to walk except the road. As busing availability has decreased, the number of students required to walk continues to increase. So with a lot of school districts, they're kind of clamping down on busing availability, and that's directly impacting these residents. And we've heard from a lot of concerned parents about how their kids are getting to school in this area. 5,000 cars use the road today, and we expect that to double by 2050. Next slide. So what's our plan? We're going to improve all transportation modes. For pedestrians and cyclists, we will provide the needed trails and sidewalks, and as well as on-street bike lanes and shoulders. We do plan to plant some trees along this corridor. We feel like with the road section that we have and the right-of-way in place, we can put trees in the area to provide a better pedestrian experience. And then as far as the car traffic, we will construct the roundabout to help with not only accidents, but emissions. And then we'll also make sure this road connects to recent improvements in the area. We know that these improvements will address system needs for years to come. Next slide. I just did want to point out that this is the city's Greenway Linkages Plan. This project is in direct alignment with our Greenway Linkages Plan and will connect to trails along 175th and then Schweitzer and Quivira and provide connections to the Metro Green Trail along Coffee Creek. Watch my time. Next slide, please. Did want to mention, this is also in alignment with our South OP Transportation Plan, where we're trying to only build the improvements now that we need for the traffic now. And then we will plan to use this as a CARS project, and it aligns with our new comprehensive plan framework OP. So with that, we submitted multiple projects. 175th Street is our number one priority. I do have slides on our other projects if there's any questions, but I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Questions in the room for Overland Park or online? None. Thanks again, Overland Park. Up next will be Olathe. Oops.
Good morning. My name is Neil Meredith. I'm with the city of Olathe. I'll be presenting on the two projects the city submitted. Our first project is Dennis Avenue, Hedge to Parker. This project will improve Dennis Avenue to a 3-lane arterial in this section. Improvements will include bike lanes, a 5-foot sidewalk on one side of the road, and a shared use path on the other side, which is typically about 10 feet. The city is requesting $5 million, with the city providing the remaining $13.7 million to fully fund this project. Of the two projects we've submitted, this is our number one priority. This project will advance the efficiency and safety of movement of pedestrians and vehicles through this corridor. As you can see in the picture here, it is currently an unimproved section, aside from those bike lanes. Again, we would be putting in curb and gutter as well as pedestrian improvements. This section right here is adjacent to Oregon Trail Middle School, which creates high traffic volume for both vehicles and pedestrians. This project has been identified as a priority in the city of Olathe's transportation master plan to address safety and capacity needs in this area. Next slide, please. Our second project is Lone Elm, 119th Street to Harold, which is 127th Street. This project will improve Lone Elm from 119th to Harold with a 2-lane divided arterial. So that would be a median with turn lanes. Will include new medians, street lighting, bike lanes, a 5-foot sidewalk on one side of the road, and a shared use path on the other, just like our other project. We are also requesting $5 million on this project, the city providing the remaining $10.3 million in funding. Of our two projects, this is our number 2 priority. Next slide, please. Just like our previous project, this has been identified as a priority in the city of Olathe's transportation master plan and is needed to address safety and capacity needs in the area. From that picture, you can see this is currently an unimproved section of roadway with no curb and gutter, no turn lanes. We do find in this section as well that we have a lot of pedestrian traffic and children walking to school along the edge of this roadway, and we do get numerous complaints about that, and it is obviously a safety need. But that pretty much wraps up our presentation from the city of Olathe, unless there are questions.
Questions for Olathe? Seeing any?
Appreciate the time. Go Royals.
All right, City of Merriam.
Morning, I'm Celia Kumke with City of Merriam. This is our Merriam Drive 55th to West 50th Terrace project. As you can see in the picture, we got a lot of pavement and deteriorated pavement and infrastructure. Our improvements include a road diet, so we're reducing from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, a 10-foot shared use path on the west side, signal improvements at 55th Street, sidewalk improvements. There are sidewalks, but we're going to increase the width to 55 feet and improve the sidewalks with ADA and crosswalks, etc. Bike sharrows, Turkey Creek runs along adjacent to this road, so we'll be providing connections to the Turkey Creek Trail and stormwater improvements as well as some BMP since we're next to the floodplain. You know, we want to treat the water before it goes into Turkey Creek. So our project needs are improving safety and operations for multimodal travel and replacing aging infrastructure. Our total request is 3,180,000. Next slide. Our match is 1,320,000. And this is our number one priority and our only priority, and we've only submitted for STP funding. This is part of a larger project. There's a lot going down and going along, along down on Merriam Drive. From Johnson Drive, we have our downtown area, which eventually we're looking at making that a mixed use development. We have a Turkey Creek flood mitigation project going on. And then as we go farther north, we've been working with Overland Park on a downtown Merriam corridor plan for PSP and looking at that intersection at Antioch. And so this project is scalable. We're focusing on the middle section from 55th to 50th Terrace because the downtown area, you know, we have the floodplain project going on, and then north, like I said, we're working with Overland Park trying to figure out a solution for that intersection there. So it is scalable. We could reduce the project if we need to, and then pick it up with a future phase. And as I mentioned, this scope is developed based on 2 PSP grants, which is the downtown Merriam Connected Corridor and the Overland Park Connected Project. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Miriam? Not seeing any in the room or online. Thank you, Celia.
Thank you.
Next up, City of Lenexa.
Thank you for allowing us to present. This is Tim Graham, city engineer here in Lenexa. Our first project, and which would be our number one priority project, would be 83rd Street from Clare Road to Gleason Road. The scope of the work would be to widen the existing 2-lane unimproved roadway to a 4-lane divided roadway and include signalization at Clare Road and Gleason Road. The project would include sidewalk on one side, 10-foot wide mixed-use trail on the other, street lighting, street trees, enclosed storm sewer. We would also look at on-street bike lanes. Our complete streets plan does show bike lanes in this section. I attended a number of the DeSoto Planning Sustainable Places on 83rd Street that they had, and there was kind of mixed feelings on their section if there should be bike lanes or not based on the input from the bike users. So I guess where I'm going is as we study this street, bike lanes will be considered, and we'll work with the bike community to determine if we should have those or what type. We'll also have water quality. We include water quality on all of our projects. The need is safe and efficient roadway. We have a number of schools that are either in this area or proposed to be in this area in the near future that provide access from 83rd Street. There are currently no sidewalks in the area either, so there's really no way for kids to walk to school at this time. The other need that's driving this project, we're really on the border with Shawnee to the north as they continue to grow. We continue to grow out west, and of course, DeSoto and the Panasonic plant increase traffic in this vicinity. The other main issue is whenever there's work on K10, this is the default detour that people use, and with upcoming work on K10 that's proposed for widening, I think we'll see a dramatic increase in traffic when that work's being done over onto 83rd Street. We are requesting 8.2 million. Our match would be 5.5 million. This is the only funding we requested, and number one project. Next slide, please. And this is just a look. This project is not scalable. It's only a half-a-mile project from Gleason to Clare. The city would make up any difference in cost if we were awarded less than the requested amount. Next. Our second project would be Renner Boulevard from 84th to 79th. It's an existing 2-lane rural roadway that we would widen to 3 lanes. The major need for this is really growth in city center and providing a complete street in that area. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic between city center and Shawnee Mission Park. There's really no good way to get there along this corridor. So that's kind of the main push. We also have a new Advent Health Hospital going in city center, and there's quite a bit of access, especially now with 435 and Midland being closed that use this route. Our request would be 3.1 million in STP funding. Our match 4.5 million, and this would be our second priority. Next slide. Again, location 84th, 79th, and again, not scalable. If we did not get the requested funding, we would fund any difference with city funds. And that's it from Lenexa, and I stand for any questions.
Tim, questions for Lenexa? Nothing in the room and nothing online. Thanks again, Tim.
Thank you.
All right. There's just a quick map of where this is last slide for Lenexa that we didn't get to. All right, Lansing.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Mike Spookumar. I'm the city engineer. The project today we're going to talk about is the 4H and DeSoto roundabout and as well as some corridor improvements. This is essentially just a replacement of a four-way stop with a roundabout. But in addition, we added the 10-foot multi-use path on the south side of the road to increase our connectivity with our local high school. The project request is 5.6 million, and we are requesting the maximum 80% federal match on that. We've also applied for the KDOT statewide transportation alternatives to try to get this. Next slide, please. So you can kind of see where the two projects overlap. In orange is the KDOT statewide, which would actually connect all the way to the high school, and then the project we're proposing is the roundabout at 147th and DeSoto, as well as the 10-foot multi-use path there along our 4H road, our County Road 7. Scalability, it's I mean, we could remove a portion of that, which would be like to remove the path, but that's really the only scalable option we have. Next slide, please. You've seen this project before. We've applied in the past, and we really appreciate the input that we've got. It was unaligned before, but with the addition of some complete street improvements as well as some bike ped facilities, we took that to note, and then we reapplied this time. Like I said, this was really in response to our high school, and like Overland Park said, there's been some busing policy changes. So there has been a pretty strong outpouring of requests for pedestrian facilities between the high school and essentially what is our municipal complex. It terminates near our library. So we've seen some intrepid young students walking in ditches, and we really want to try to avoid that. So that's kind of where we're at. The project is well designed at this point, and the multi-use trail was really is really a strong component of this. We want to see getting much closer to that and eventually making that connection. Next slide. Any questions or comments?
Questions for Lansing?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. KCATA.
Good morning, everyone. My name is AJ Ferris. I am the Planning and Scheduling Manager at the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority. So our first project we'll be talking about out of the two projects is our Priority 1 project. Is this the first slide, Mark?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. It is a regional replacement clean vehicles. We've come before this committee as well as the Missouri committee several times in the past to ask for this funding to help us replace aging vehicles with new alternative fuel vehicles that are better for the environment and just better for the region overall.
AJ, looks like you froze up a little.
Oh no, I can hear you guys. All right. Basically, what the slide says, it helps us replace our aging fleet with new, clean alternative fuel vehicles. Funding request of 4 million with a total match amount of 1 million, and this is our priority project. Next slide, please, Mark. Thank you. This project would support regional transit operations for multiple counties within the region, specifically for the Kansas STP committee. This is a focus on Johnson County and Wyandotte County. This is a scalable project, basically just meaning the amount of funds were approved or the amount of vehicles that we can purchase and replace our aging fleet with. Next slide, please. This is our second project. This is a bus stop improvement project. We've had a lot of success with this in the past, basically updating and renovating and adding more amenities at specific locations and active corridors. This is a request in coordination with Johnson County and the Unified Government of Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County. The total request is 1.5 million, but as we'll see from this specific committee, the Kansas STP committee, it's 750,000. We're looking to improve and include more amenities at stops, and that includes adding more ADA accessibility to stops that currently don't have it today. We're also looking at different ways we can increase shade with planting trees and increasing security upgrades like camera and pedestrian focused lighting. Next slide, please. As I said, from this committee, it's a $750,000 funding request with a total match of $187,500. This is our second priority. And I believe that might be the last slide, Mark. Oh, as far as scalability goes, this is a scalable project. Again, if we receive less than our request, then we would just be able to improve a smaller amount of stops in our region. Thank you very much.
Thanks, AJ. Questions for ATA?
So what is your replacement schedule for the clean vehicles?
So it's basically it depends on which type of alternative fuel vehicle we go with. We've left this specifically without identifying an exact alternative fuel vehicle because it's good to have a mix of fuel types in our fleet. But we have a transit asset management plan that we also share with Mark that basically goes over the amount of buses that we need to replace every single year to keep up with our aging fleet.
Thank you.
Additional questions for the ATA? Seeing none. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, City of Gardner.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Tim McEldowney. I'm the city engineer for Gardner. Similar to a lot of the projects we've already heard about this morning, our 167th Street is an existing 2-lane rural arterial section. We're proposing to do an improved 2-lane section, which would include left turn lanes at major intersections. We would include on-street bike lanes, sidewalk, and also a multi-use path. And it's really a safety need for this improvement. Like I said, it's a rural section right now, which is doesn't have any allowance for bike or ped traffic. It's also relatively narrow with ditches right adjacent to the street. Our funding request is 7.19 million with city's match over 4.4 million, which the significant part of that is utility relocation. We have a Evergy line that will need to be replaced. We're anticipating over $1 million just for that. And this is our only project we're requesting funding for this year. Next slide, please. So again, it's 167th Street is 1 mile from Center Street to Moonlight. We could look at scaling it. Obviously 1 mile is kind of the optimal length to build, but if needing to stretch the dollars, we could look at shortening it. We could also look at maybe tweaking our design somewhat to maybe minimize some of those utility relocations. Next slide, please. So the project you can see in the yellow line here is part of a larger study we've done. We did a preliminary engineering study of 3.5 miles of 167th Street. So basically from Moonlight to actually just a little bit off our aerial out to Four Corners Road. So we've completed preliminary design of that entire corridor. It's currently residential, and we expect it to continue that way, which is one of the reasons we're including the focusing on the bike and ped facilities. You can see in the pink, those are all active developments, both single and multi-family developments ongoing in the city. And I've also identified on there where we're connecting to existing trail system, the Gardner Greenway, to the south of our project, and then Moonlight Road. It has an existing multi-use path on it. Next slide, please. So just provided a typical section here. Again, it's 2-lane divided with left turn lanes, and we're setting this up because we know at some point in the future we'll need to widen that out to 4 lanes. Again, with the on-street bike, sidewalk, multi-use path. We'll also be doing some stormwater treatment on this. We're showing open ditches on the typical section. We're likely to end up with maybe a combination of some curb and gutter and then open ditch section with bioswales or other BMPs. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the city of Gardner? Seeing none. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Oh, one last picture here for city of Gardner. You can kind of see the existing conditions out there. Next up, Edwardsville.
All right. Thanks everybody for your time. Appreciate it. I'm Randy Gordon with BHC. We serve as city engineer for Edwardsville. City manager Mark Mathis is here as well. The project before you for this round is the third part of the 98th Street improvements. This project continues previous work funded through STP, widening and providing improved alignment, sight distance for the existing roadway, adding a 10-foot side path, multi-use for pedestrian bicycles, as well as making some significant drainage improvements along the corridor. As I mentioned, right, the existing road, and we'll have some photos here in a slide or two, shows how narrow this kind of old county rural section is. Growth has started to occur in both within the city limits as well as just north across municipal line into Kansas City, Kansas, on the north side of I-70. So this is intended to create really a viable surface alternative to 435 as this development continues and probably accelerates as other improvements are made that would support higher densities. The total STPG request amount is 6.5 million, with the city's match of 2 million over their 20% minimum. There is no additional funding that's been applied for this round, nor are there any external sources that seem to be available at the time to help. This is the city's top priority and only request in this cycle. Next slide, please. Again, this would go, and I'll show you a map here in a second. In general, at the end of the Part 2 project that's currently under design, which is south of Swartz Road, close to, if Metropolitan connected with 98th Street, right in that vicinity. It is scalable, although we're basically into the last mile of this improvement from K32 to the North City limit to tie into KCK. So it would be nice to go ahead and tackle this all at once, but we can shorten it up if needed. You can see here in this photo, this is the southern end closer to K32. There are homes. There are obviously people, in this case kids, who are walking along the road. The upside is, at least in this particular section, there are some shoulders available for pedestrians to use. And this is actually one of the wider sections of pavement. Next slide, please. So here's a map that shows, right, so previously Edwardsville has been fortunate enough to be awarded STP money. The kind of purplish at the north, that is currently under construction. That's part one. The middle orange piece is currently under design, slated for construction in 2026. And then yellow, which is that last piece touching K32 high, that's what's being requested for funding in this round. Next slide. So here's some of the particular, I guess, good representative, photos. There is a very large culvert within this section of roadway, undersized, in less than desirable condition. That will need to be improved to meet current capacity, as well as width and pedestrian clearance standards. You can see here, there's not much in the way of shoulder, right? When work needs to be done, we become a one-lane road. And in other spots, we pull a vehicle over, it becomes less than a one-lane road. Hills throughout. Quite often in many parts, there are no roadside ditches. The edge of pavement is the drainage way. And you can see some of the deterioration that's been causing. Next slide, please. Back slide, please. So again, the city greatly appreciates this. This serves not only the municipality of Edwardsville, but it provides some adjacent benefits. This is also connecting two pretty good sized activity centers, right? You have everything on the west side of Village West. There is a significant industrial park area on the south side of K32. And so that creates certain opportunities for developers and demands upon the transportation network. And providing this alternative link is really kind of unique in this part of Western Wyandotte County, to provide alternatives for motorists, bicyclists, pedestrians that don't otherwise really exist. And it's certainly not a route we want to direct residents or businesses traffic along. So the city strongly requests, let us finish, right? We're 2/3 of the way already programmed. This will let it finish. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Edwardsville?
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Randy. All right, DeSoto.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Joe Johnson, City of DeSoto. So you've probably seen this project before. The city, back in previous call for project, received $1.5 million for the bridge. We thought it would be an easy bridge project. Fortunately, it spans over a railroad that's owned by Sunflower Redevelopment. They are good with the height. Unfortunately, we could not get paid out our BNSF to agree. And now we have to go back and look at raising the bridge several feet to accommodate the clearance. So this request is for $2.9 million, which will give us a total of about $5.4 million for the project. We're now at $7.8 million. You can see the total match for the city is a little over $3.5 million. The bridge was originally built back in 1948, and currently it's structurally deficient. So we have it inspected about every year to look at the condition of the bridge. It really does not accommodate pedestrians. People sometimes walk across the bridge. There is a narrow concrete pad that pedestrians do use, but the connections on the sidewalks as well. So the bridge would be wide enough to accommodate on-street bike lanes. It would also accommodate sidewalks on both sides. And those improvements would be extended to the roadway as we tie back into the existing roadway structure. To the south of us is the elementary school and the high school. Additionally, as we improve thinner, we would tie to these improvements and have pedestrian bike access to the high school. This also connects to our downtown. Actually, it's the major link into our downtown area. And as we improve the roadways into downtown, we would carry the improvements from the bridge and the roadway adjacent to it into our downtown area. As far as scalability of the project, it's really not scalable. Once we build a bridge, we're tying back the existing roads on either side as quick as we can. Better try to minimize disruption to the surrounding neighborhoods and the residents along the roadways. Here to answer any questions that you may have.
How much are you required to raise the bridge?
So it's about 19.8, so the minimum requirement is 23.6. So that creates challenges trying to tie back. So We're trying to work with BNSF to see if we can find a common ground that would give them. I'm not sure what they're going to use it for because I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but trying to find a common ground so that we can meet their height requirement they can live with, but also tie back into our existing roadway system.
Additional questions for DeSoto?
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Joe. Baser.
Thank you, Maddie Boughton, City of Baser. The city has two trail projects that we submitted for this funding cycle. I apologize that the text is a little small on the screen there. First is the Coralberry Trail project. It would provide a little over a half mile of trail connectivity for one of our western neighborhoods to our civic campus, which includes a lot of quality of life amenities, a fishing pond, an event lawn, an amphitheater, a splash pad. We just really, we're growing and our pedestrian facilities have not kept pace with our growth. And so you can see on the screen that we have somebody, if they want to walk to the civic campus right now, they have to walk either in the roadway or in an open ditch. And so we're really trying to make that the exception and not the rule in Baser and flip that script. So our request is 1.6 million, 1.684 million, and the city is prepared to make our 20% match. We have requested funding from additional committees through Mid-America Regional Council, and the city would be delighted to receive our 80% from whatever pot is available. This particular project is the highest priority project for the city. Because you can see on the screen there, it is pretty much a straight shot, and it's just a little over half mile of trail. Unfortunately, this project is not scalable at this time. I'd be happy to stand for any questions regarding Coralberry Trail.
Questions on this particular project for Baser? Not seeing any online.
And our second trail project is Trails at Baser Town Center. And again, very similar sentiments. Our pedestrian facilities have just not kept pace with our growth. You can see on the screen a picture of our students. That's not a post picture. That is a picture actually that our school district posted on social media. They were walking to a park and they sort of posted it as a celebratory picture. And as the city, we really took it as a call to action. Our kids deserve better than walking in the roadway or an open ditch. And so we are really just taking that charge and trying to connect as many of our neighborhoods to our activity centers as possible. We do have two applications. This is our second priority at the city of Baser. The request is 2.5 million and the city is prepared to make our 20% required match. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions about trails at Baser Town Center? Seeing none. I know that the Active Transportation Programming Committee met yesterday. They didn't necessarily take any actions, but they are actively working and will meet again in the future. The carbon reduction program, which is also been applied for through this program, will be handled by a new committee here at MARC, the Transportation Emissions Committee. I believe they have met, not to discuss projects. They're still kind of working through kind of logistics of a new committee, but I do believe they have a scheduling poll that closes tomorrow to determine when their next meeting, when they will actually start talking about funding applications. So hopefully, as this committee gets started working on things, we can keep you informed as best as possible about the activities other programming committees are doing and where the overlaps may lie, and see if we can't leverage federal dollars pretty much all over the region in a more efficient manner. So I believe Baser is the last of our presentations. Thank you again to everyone for putting these together and attending in either in person or online and walking through your projects. I realize this is a big process and it's very important to all of your jurisdictions. So we do like to give you the opportunity to kind of talk about your project, make sure everybody understands it as we're going into programming. The score does some of that, but maybe not necessarily give you all the details about why it's particularly important to your communities. So this does provide a good opportunity for that. Some next steps about our programming process, as I mentioned earlier, we are still working through kind of requests for scoring modifications. We're close to being finished on that. I think Everybody that's involved in it is now back in the office, and so we will hopefully get some closure on that. I know I'm certainly ready to wrap that particular piece up and get those kind of revisions out to you. Once those go out to everyone, we will also get to you kind of a full list of the scoring so you can see everybody's project all together and how they scored. So, but we do like to give you the opportunity to ask questions about your scoring. We find it to be much more efficient and better for you and for us, quite honestly, if we do that outside of a committee meeting, because there are multiple staff members who score all of these projects. And so it's much easier to kind of farm those out to folks and give them time to look at it rather than trying to do it on the fly in a committee meeting. So we will get those out to you. At your next meeting, we will ask you to kind of formalize and finalize the scoring so we can put that portion of things kind of done and move on to the next portion of trying to figure out how to actually allocate funds to projects here. We did schedule you some kind of special meetings. Your next regular meeting doesn't occur until November. So we did put some special meetings on the calendar. We talked about that back in August. I believe the next one comes in 2 weeks, which would be October 17th. We will get you an agenda, obviously, for that kind of a week in advance like we normally do. All of these meetings will be 9:30. They will all be Thursdays. So we're anticipating October 17th and then again on Halloween. And then we'll have your regular meeting in November. Kind of every other week we'll be meeting. If there is a need for additional meetings following that meeting in November, we will obviously schedule those. We'll keep an eye on how things are going. I don't typically anticipate that happening for this committee. Generally, 2 to 3 meetings once presentations are done and scoring is done. Generally 2 to 3 meetings is needed to get to funding allocation, and so we would anticipate that. All of this will head to kind of the next level up of policy committees, which would be the Total Transportation Policy Committee. If everybody's recommendations are done in time to take those recommendations to TTPC in November, we will do so as kind of an informational item for TTPC. If not, we will take them all in December and also ask for TTPC's approval to release them for public review and comment as part of a TIP amendment at that point. So that's kind of the next steps that are going on. Again, I will keep you as informed as best as I can about projects that are competing for funding out of multiple committees, where those other committees are at and where they're kind of headed, if it will impact this particular committee's work. And obviously we will share kind of the direction of this committee with those other ones as well, kind of going the other direction to make sure they are aware of where the direction is headed here and what the likelihood of funding for projects that overlap is. Again, so we're not competing with each other necessarily. So again, October 17th, we'll be ready to go as far as the initial discussions. I guess one piece of information I would like from you all is there anything that you feel you need outside of the scoring? Obviously, we can provide you with kind of historical pictures of funding. We generally provide that to you about where the dollars have gone over recent rounds. We can do that again. Our funding targets with KDOT are pretty standard. Our balances with KDOT are very low at this point, and so there's no real need to kind of accommodate any unobligated balances of funds. So essentially, we're looking at our annual allocation plus maybe a 5 to 10% over programming just to make sure that we're covered for a variety of things. Generally, that lends itself to a programming total over the 2-year period of about $30 million. So we're kind of consistent with that. I have been using that number for a number of years, so I think that's probably a pretty good place to start. But outside of that, kind of the scoring and the funding history, is there anything else this committee is looking for? We will also provide you with kind of the listing of projects and those that have, and we'll identify those that have applied for funding in other places so you can kind of see it a little more easily and not have to try and remember everything that comes out of this. But if there are other requests for information that you have, please let me know and we will work on those and work to provide those to you. We will also make this available. Generally, how we do it will end up being a very large recording, hard to share it by email. Generally, what we do is we post those to YouTube and you're able to rewatch that. So we will get that link out to you as well. So that's it. All I had on the programming end of things. Again, if there is information you're looking for, please do let us know. And we will work to get that information out to you as quickly as possible. Outside of that, I did not have any other business to report on at this point, so I think we're kind of there. Again, next meeting, October 17th, 9:30 a.m. As always, virtual and in person, so we will accommodate both. I would note though, as we get into the programming kind of end of things, if you are able to attend in person, it does kind of tend to help the process along when everybody's in the room, kind of working together. Otherwise, it's hard to, I think I find it easier to kind of read the room a little bit about what's going on when everybody's in it, as opposed to kind of the split of being hybrid. However, we have done hybrid programming now for a number of years, and so we will make either scenario work, but I would encourage you to attend in person if at all possible.
All right, last item, I'd welcome a motion for adjournment.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great remainder of the week and a great weekend.